Mine was about 5 months into training. I was changing in the locker room right after our gym class when suddenly a guy, very athletically built, exclaimed, "Damn, my name is getting pretty wide." Of course, people took notice and stared at me approvingly. It's moments like that which made me fall in love with training. Now it's your turn to share. Edit. Read through every single comment now, and this reminded me of another story. In June, we went on a camping trip with our class, and since it was a pretty sunny day, I decided to wear a tank top for the first time in my life. My crush said that my arms were looking huge and asked how many pull-ups I could do. 11. For those interested. That was, of course, incredible. But an even better event was when the most muscular guy I knew told me that I was a closet, a common saying in my country's language. It might have helped that I went right after my workout and still had a pump on. Edit 2. Since people keep asking, the expression is cast and is German. Edit 3. To further specify, I'm from Switzerland. Story 1. Actually, last Saturday, 1 year and 8 months ago, twice. One time was when I took my shirt off at the beach and a guy called me powerful. A good-looking girl said I had a nice butt, which made me laugh out loud. It felt good considering I was looking in the mirror and didn't feel like I was making enough progress. When I go to the gym, I still compare myself to the super ripped guys. It definitely is helping my confidence and putting me more at ease when talking to people in general. When I started going to the gym, I began with the lowest weight dumbbells, 2.5 kilograms. Story 2. Started a new job and a coworker asked if I went to the gym. I said yes, and she then asked if I trained my legs. I said yes again and asked why. Your legs look really good. I can tell. Been riding on that high almost a year later. Pretty sure she wasn't flirting, horn dogs. She was a lesbian. Story 3. It's always the homies, never the girls. I was 5 or 6 months deep when my gym partner said, "Damn, you're getting kind of big, Hippocrates." And a teammate of mine said, "What the heck? Why is Hippocrates jacked? It looks weird." Story 4. Most of the people in my cohort know I work out, but due to COVID-19, we haven't seen each other as much. On January 1st, 2020, I was around 200 pounds and easily overweight with a body mass index of 28. By the end of the spring quarter, I was around 180 pounds, still overweight with a body mass index of 25. Currently, we are almost done with the summer quarter, and I am around 167.5 to 165 pounds. We had a few in-person practicals, and many people in my cohort kept staring at me. They said they didn't recognize me from a distance and that I look good. My goal weight is 160 pounds. Since this got so many upvotes, I should probably mention Greg Doucette is my unofficial official coach. Check out his channel for diet and exercise advice. Story 5. I shifted focus to the bench press and people very quickly noticed my manly chest muscles getting larger. When I shifted focus to the overhead press, people very quickly started noticing the growth in my shoulders. No one ever noticed my deadlift and squat progression, nor my grip training. Story 6. I go to Orange Theory, and we have these things called benchmark days. They are activities like run for distance over 12 minutes, or row 2,000 meters, or fastest mile. The coach came up and told me while I was struggling on the treadmill how I'm doing great and he's seen the weight loss in me, and I can do this. Anyways, it was awesome. Fast forward 7 months and I'm now 40 pounds lighter. Story 7. I have looked about the same for 2 decades. One time at work, I had a very fitting shirt, and a young colleague who had just started bodybuilding said, "So you've picked up training? But to your situation, I have been going to gyms for 20 years or so. I have seen plenty of people come in and grow, sometimes way faster than naturally possible. It is noticeable on some bodies." Story 8. I was grabbing drinks for the table at a bar, and some guy bumped into me. He straight up said, "Oh no, you're a big guy. My bad. I'm maybe 5'10" and only weighed maybe 195 pounds. He was easily bigger than I was. Story 9. During quarantine, I was doing a push-up challenge, and I posted the video online. I had a friend I hadn't seen in a while say, "Wow, you got big." I just laughed. Story 10. I am about 5 feet 11 inches and still have a decent bit of fat on my body, but one day my best friend, who is about 6 feet 4 inches, barely any fat, and is pretty muscular, said, "I would never complain about my body, but I have to admit, I wish I had a chest like yours." It was a crazy boost of confidence. Story 11. People thought I was working out when I went from 135 to 165, and now I'm 210. I'm just getting fatter, but everyone thinks I'm working out. People are stupid. Story 12. I was at a football game. I play every Sunday but with long sleeves. This particular day, I wore a sleeveless shirt. The moment I stepped on the field, a friend yelled, "Oh God, look at gambling-addicted's arms. What a day." Story 13. Literally this morning, I was the one who noticed someone else's progress. I told my male coworker that his new dress shirt looked good, and he proudly informed me that it was his goal shirt. When he first bought it, he couldn't close the buttons, but today was the first time he fit into it. Story 14. I started lifting in October 2019. The first time someone mentioned that I looked different was February 2020. The highlight came a few weeks ago when, at the park with my kids, another dad asked where I work out, not if I work out. That's all I have so far, but I'll take it. Story 15. I kinda got to cheat. I wouldn't see my family for 6 to 8 months at a time, so when I'd come home, they could see my growth a lot better than if they had watched it gradually. Confidence boost when everyone back home hits you with, "Holy shit, man, you're huge." Story 16. I wear long-sleeved shirts most of the time and dress pretty conservatively. I was at the gym when I got a call about a possible break-in at our office, so I just left without showering or changing, wearing shorts and a tank top. I got to the office where 2 other employees were already waiting, and they commented on my physique. I don't think much about it. I just do it to stay healthy, so it caught me a little off guard, and I was slightly embarrassed to be standing there in non-regular clothing at the office. Story 17. My cousin and I had an old friend come over, and after he hugged us hello, he said, "Wow, you guys are hard." I understood what he meant, but it was hilarious and we laughed about it. Story 18. Woman at work said I looked so good, like every day. Then I stopped going to the gym. She kept saying it. Then I realized she just liked me a lot. And getting someone to like you is a much easier way of getting physical compliments than going to the gym for years. Story 19. I started doing a few bodyweight workouts when I was 14 during the summer. Around the same moment, I had a growth spurt. In September, a girl who was also in my class the previous year said I had put on some muscle. That really helped me build my confidence. Story 20. I was in the gym and a girl I liked was there too, working out. By this point, I had been training for a while. Straight after I left the gym, she texted me saying she never realized how fit I was. From that point, she started taking a lot more interest in me. Story 21. I received comments like that before I started working out because of good genetics. I have started and stopped working out over the years. During quarantine, I started again because I let myself go. Afterwards, when meeting friends, I did get many others noticing I was more muscular. Story 22. After graduating college, I moved states and started working out regularly. I went back home that Christmas, maybe 6 to 7 months later, and at a party with some of my old high school and college friends, one of them slapped my abs and said, "Damn, you're looking tight." Oh, also remember another moment where I was on vacation with my cousin. We were in an elevator, and in the awkward silence and small space, he just looked down at my calves and said, "Damn, your calves are like tree trunks." Story 23. I was a really big boy in middle school, and over the summer of 7th grade, I went hard in the gym and started playing football. I dropped around 40 pounds, and during the first day of school, I got on my bus, and some kid that always bullied me said, "You look different." So I told him I lost a ton of weight. He replied, "No, not that," and walked away and never spoke to me again. I think he just didn't want to give me the satisfaction. Story 24. The moment that stands out to me is after I had been going to the gym for a couple of years. I finally developed my pectorals. I have always had a skinny build, so I have been trying to develop muscle instead of gaining a lot and then cutting down. I visit my brother's home, and one of his friends whom I had not seen in a long while, probably not since before I started working out regularly, takes one look and says, Well, you really have been working out. In a very complimentary way. I am still pretty proud of that. Story 25. About 10 years ago, I lost 185 pounds in 13 months, going from 383 to 208. I am 6 feet 4 inches tall. A coworker asked me if I was losing weight when I was about 30 pounds down. Multiple people started asking at around 50 pounds down. By about 120 down, people I hadn't seen in a while wouldn't recognize me when I bumped into them. Story 26. 7 months ago, I started back in December. When it came to lockdown, I was close to quitting because I was getting bored of home workouts and fed up with the limitations. However, everyone started saying I've been getting bigger every time they see me. I've increased from 68 kilograms to 88 kilograms. I don't notice the change myself. Hopefully, in a few months, I'll be happy with my progress. Story 27. I had a girl in one of my chemistry classes in college who complimented me and said she could tell I had started hitting the gym. It was a big motivator until she got way too clingy and decided we were going to date because we looked vaguely like a couple from a television show. Story 28. I traveled to a small town in Japan. I am from the United States. And this older gentleman that we were renting bikes from came up to me and said, "Wow, very nice body," in a super thick accent, then proceeded to squeeze my chest. Story 29. I'm going on 4 years. I've tripled most of my starting weights but haven't put on any weight of my own. 106 pounds. I own a pool that all my friends have been in and seen my body. Not a single comment. Story 30. In my last year of high school, I was a barista at a Starbucks with a drive-thru. I got hired in the summer and it was late fall. At that point, I had probably lost about 30 pounds, from 295 pounds to 265 pounds, and she came through the drive-thru and could hardly believe it was me. She had always been so nice, but she was staring really weirdly and not speaking as much as she usually did as I tried to make conversation. Right as she was about to drive off, she said, "I just have to say before I go, you look incredible. Good for you." 18-year-old me felt really nice then. Story 31. Probably a few months into training, the compliments felt amazing. Now COVID-19 happened, and I haven't worked out in months. I've lost my gains and gained weight. I can't find any decently priced weights to buy, and I'm a bit hesitant to go to a gym. Story 32. When I poured yogurt on my pullover, I was forced to take it off. At the time, I just wasn't willing to take off a pullover or a cardigan no matter what, so I didn't show my body. Story 33. I quietly decided to start working out because I was unhappy with the way I looked in a recent photo. I went to the gym every day for 2 hours a day. I hung out with my friends a lot, but I always wore hoodies. One night, we decided to try out a hot tub my friend got. After everybody got bored of the hot tub, we got out and went inside. My friend's wife turned and looked at me, then said, "Wow, dude, when did you get attractive?" It made me very happy. That was about 7 months into my routine. After that, I started to meet up with old friends unexpectedly, and they all commented. I ended up starting to date again. It was awesome. Story 34. Had to gain weight to play college football sophomore year, so began really lifting freshman year. When I went home for spring break, my high school friends were like, "Damn, you got swole." Then when I came back from summer break, my college friends were like, "Damn, you got swole." Nice 1-2 combo. Story 35. It was a good 10 years ago, and I went in to work overnight at Toys R Us while wearing a muscle tank top. I used to wear a bulky employee's shirt, and everyone was shocked to see that I had muscles. Story 36. Actually, today I got done working out, and my wife finally commented on how I'm starting to look really strong. Feels like today is going to be awesome. Story 37. A lady coworker hugged me and said, "Damn, you're hard everywhere." Or when sometimes a coworker, usually a lady, grabs my arm and mentions how hard they are. I rarely get compliments, if ever, but those stick out. Story 38. The best feeling is that everyone starts the conversation with, "Oh my God, is that you?" It makes me really happy. I lost around 33 kilograms since training and dieting. Story 39. My gym buddy told me that a gay guy told her that I, a straight male, had a damn good body. This was 2 years after starting CrossFit. This compliment was nearly a year ago, and I still smile when I think about it. Story 40. Apparently, it came a lot faster than I thought. The first time was about after 2 years of working out on and off. My girlfriend had moved to my city to live with me and had her own friends. One day, I asked her to introduce me to some of them jokingly so that they know she has a boyfriend. She said, "Oh, they know. Everyone was talking about that big guy I was holding hands with. Feels good to be described as a big guy for you." Story 41. Went from 148 to 180 in a year and a half after an 8-year breakup. I haven't seen a buddy in our friend group in a very long time. Went kayaking and was like, "Damn, you're swole. Feels great, man." Story 42. Lockdown. I started as lockdown hit. Recently had some social events. I've not done a lot, but I've eaten well and started to work out. Lost half a stone, but must have put a fair bit of muscle on in trade. Multiple friends noted how good I looked. Felt awesome when I got used to being skinny with a bit of podge. Story 43. If I did not tell my coworkers, probably never. I had been working out for about half a year before telling them, and they were surprised to find out that I exercised regularly. Despite seeing significant improvements based on how much I could lift in terms of weights, repetitions, and sets, and improvements in my posture and technique, I guess it was a combination of me not being bulky, wearing slightly loose clothing, and me just being a gym casual and not really pursuing that ideal physique. One of the trainers who works at the gym did comment on me getting a bit more toned, though, so at least there was that. Story 44. Well, I used to be overweight, 5 feet 9 inches and 77 kilograms, but I joined military high school and lost weight drastically. Most of my friends thought I had started doing drugs or something like that. Within a month and a half, I was 68 kilograms and stayed the same ever since until the lockdown. Now I am around 85 kilograms. Story 45. This was in high school. I was waiting in line for something, but I can't remember when I noticed 3 girls giggling about how attractive I looked. I was silently blushing while trying to maintain a manly face. Story 46. I was really big, so people noticed quite quickly, but I'll never forget when the spin class instructor said she was proud of my progress. I never did spin classes, but I always went early morning when her classes were on, and she'd always invite everyone in the gym, but it was never my thing. Aside from that brief interaction almost daily, I never talked to her. But suddenly, 2 years after I'd started working out, she went out of her way to let me know how well she thought I'd done.